take the January version of the LSAT, which looking at it right now might still be an LSAT-Flex version based on how things are going. But I signed up for the course, so I got introduced to you from a friend who took the course 2 years ago. She was actually Canadian and ended up at the second best school up in Canada. And so the course worked out really well for her. And she liked that it was kind of an OBS, pretty straightforward course. So you came highly recommended. I guess my challenge, or I think hopefully you can be helpful, is I work full time. So 40 hours, often more than that per week. And so really what I need is a lot of structure. So I've been going through the schedule that you sent, which was extremely helpful. And now I'm just kind of matching that up with the video so that I can kind of figure out, each day, how much I'm going to be doing. But any advice you have on that and kind of structuring the way that I do, for example, the readings or the videos before I start to do the tests, how long the tests tend to take when you first start, and how much time you should allocate towards that. Anything around kind of proper structure, especially when you're starting out and are new to the process.
Yeah, sure. Fantastic. Well, first off, it's nice to have you on board. I'm glad that I was able to help your friend achieve success with her law school goals. And as for the course, the course lesson videos and the schedule work hand in hand. They work in the exact same order. So basically, you're just watching the course lesson video on a particular topic before doing several practice problems of that type out of the prep tests as they're laid out in the schedule. So back and forth between the videos and the exams, theory before application. That's pretty much how to lay it out. And if you want structure, the study plan gives that to you because it's very literal. Do these exact problems. As for time, the flex is 2 hours on test day. So it's 3 sections back to back, 2 hours if January is a flex, which of course it may well be. But in the beginning stages of your prep, I wouldn't really focus on timing. Just focus on accuracy and understanding what it is that you're working on.
Yeah. In terms of, and part of the reason I was asking about timing is more around when I create these schedules, because as you can imagine, with often, 60 hours working a week, I have to really carefully plan how many hours I'm going to devote during the week, especially. So I'm guessing at first it's probably going to take a little longer. So if I think it's going to take me, 2 hours to get through the problems, that's probably at a little bit of a cushion, I would assume at first.
Yeah, definitely. If you start falling behind, then you could just do fewer practice problems of a given type. But if you said you're working 60 hours a week, that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah. So it's good that you're allowing time till January because you need more time. So that's good to hear. But carve out the time where you can, maybe up the LSAT prep and in your daily routine or weekly routine as you're able to, so that you don't feel discouraged about falling behind, but also know that it'll take a while to get this down.
Okay, good. So don't feel too bad if it's taking a while. And then do you recommend changing anything, especially as you get towards the end of the studying? And as I get closer, I'll probably know whether it'll be the flex, but do you recommend changing anything about the study plan based on the flex exam changes to the sections?
Not really. The content of the exam is completely identical. It's just the format is different.
One fewer section.
One fewer section. So maybe a little bit less on LR, a little bit more on games and reading comp. Those aren't huge differences though, and the material is the same. I would just say as the test gets closer, you want to practice on Law Hub either way, because whether it's Flex or digital on a tablet, the software look and feel is going to be the same.
Yeah, so just get practice with that. Okay. And then the other thing, I'm guessing that you've had other folks who are full-time students. Any particular advice that's a little bit different than you would normally give to students, for example, that you give to folks who are working while they're doing the studying?
You've got to be more deliberate about blocking off time and not letting it get interrupted by anything else. And so maybe blocking off full weekend days, not to study the entire day, but to make sure that at least 5 to 6 hours happens on the weekend, and then carving it out where you can, maybe before work or after work. But I don't want to tell you to do too much if you're already working 60 hours. That's a lot.
Yeah. And what I've done is it's nice because right now, it's nice that I'm starting now because right now is a slow season. Folks are still on vacation and finishing up all of that. So it's been a little quieter than usual, which is good. So I'll start on a quiet note. And then the holidays are usually pretty quiet too. So I'll at least get started on what's a quieter note and start to get used to it. Because it's the logic game section, I think, is probably the part that I'll have down the easiest. Those are kind of the things I used to do as a kid. Those little, like the nerd that I am.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be, it's more getting the structure so that I could do it in a timed environment, because obviously it's a little different than doing it on your own and spending as much time as you can. But I think what I'm probably more concerned about is some of the logical reasoning and the stuff that I'm not as, as used to doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good that you have the familiarity. And so that could help jumpstart you and get you into it. But yeah, carve out the time. I mean, are you working 5 days a week?
I am. But the good news is I've always worked from home, and most of my work involved travel. And so with a lot of that gone, I do get a little bit more flexibility in how I can structure that 60 hours if it comes to that. And the next couple of months will be much less than that, which is great.
Oh, that is very good to hear. Okay, so take breaks where you can if able, and if games are fun for you, those puzzles, then work those in as breaks from work.
I'm glad that's where you're starting, actually, because that's the stuff that I don't mind doing.
Cool.
So it's
That's
a good
fantastic.
way to jump right in and not feel like this is completely new and what am I doing?
Yeah, and then scale up the LSAT prep as you're able to. If work gets less busy, you can then adjust with more time devoted to the LSAT. So that's good.
Yeah. And then I looked at your schedule, and I think looking at a couple different websites that kind of tell you, how much time should you devote per week. I think I saw 15 hours was kind of the recommended average across different places, I think including maybe one of your articles. Sorry, I've read a lot of them. But is that also your recommendation, or do you find that, don't put that specific number on it and do more of, as long as you get through the full prep that's on the guide, you should be fine?
It's a general guideline. So if you can do more, do more. Don't feel like it has to be exactly 15. If it's 14 or 14 and a half, that's fine. But then you'll scale it up. And if you could do 20, do 20. If you can do 25, do 25. As work gets less busy, ramp it up as test day gets closer.
Okay. So not a end all be all. Okay. That's helpful. Those are my questions. I had already asked you a couple via email, specifically around how to map a couple things from the study guide and optional items. Are any of those optional kind of reading materials, or any of that stuff that, yes, is optional, but would really, like, if you had to kind of rank and say, this one, I might go ahead and splurge and get it. Is there anything like that you find?
Yeah, sure. The cheat sheets are pretty popular because they really boil things down bite-sized. You said you like the no BS. I've really stripped it down to its core for each section of the exam in those cheat sheets. So if you were going to get one, I would get that. Obviously, you don't need to get the day-by-day study plan separately because that's included in the course. That would be my number one for folks in general if they weren't in the course. But since you are, I would say the cheat sheets.
Super helpful.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I would say get the cheat sheets. And I also have explanations for different LSAT practice problems from the exams written. I obviously have video explanations in the course, but if you want written explanations, I have those for the majority of prep tests available separately on the website. So maybe you won't need them for games, but let's say logical reasoning gives you more trouble. You want written ones. Maybe get the logical reasoning explanations for those specific exams that you're working out of.
Okay, that's good advice. I'll jot that down. And as I go through, I think probably as I get through a couple of the test questions, I'll probably start to realize where I'm going to have the most trouble, and it'll be good to circle back and know those explanations are there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think those were my main questions right now. I'm sure that I'll have many more as I start the process. But anything I'm missing that is really important to know, other than obviously follow the study guide to get as much practice time as possible in there?
I think you've got what you need for now. I mean, I've got plenty of orientation videos at the very beginning of the course. I've run a lot of live orientations, and so those cover a lot of general questions folks have about starting the course, as well as just starting prep in general. So I'd look at those if you haven't had the chance yet.
I've gone through a lot of those, which was great because they answered a lot of my initial questions. And I'm sure that's why I put them up there.
Yeah.
Because as the course was starting, I had a lot of questions. So anything I missed that you think is important to know?
That's probably it. But if you have any questions, of course, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help.
Anytime. Yeah, you're a very fast responder, which I appreciate. So I'll be sure to reach out. Thank you so much, Steve. I'll see you. I think we've got 2 sessions today that I'm planning on joining unless something comes up. So
cool. Fantastic. Well, I'll see you soon then. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.